the National Film Board peeps are here, Melissa and Heather, and we also have Nathalie here as well. And they're going to kind of walk us through Ocean School. I'll send out all the resources that are talked about, anything mentioned in their presentation. We'll take down all those notes so you can just literally sit back and listen. And I'll send out the recording as well tomorrow.
We'll share the slide deck with Chris as well, so you have all the links and everything in it as well.
Yeah. So enjoy, guys. And if you have any questions, just throw them in the chat and we can, well, they're pretty good, these two. I don't even have to say anything. They'll just cover them as we go. So if you have questions at the end, we can ask, we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end as well.
Sure.
So off to you, Heather and Melissa.
Great, thanks so much. Ben, welcome. We've been chatting a little bit in the room. Feel free to turn on your camera and use your mic. We're a small group today. So my name is Heather Delagran. I'm an education producer at the National Film Board of Canada. I am a former teacher. I used to teach geography in the high school in the UK and then in the Bahamas. But ended up in Montreal, and after doing a master's, found my dream job at the National Film Board. And so I'm here today to share with you all about Ocean School. And I'll let Melissa, my co-presenter, introduce herself.
I'm Melissa Dent. I am a grade 7 teacher in Southern Ontario. I've taught kindergarten through to university and several locations. So I used to teach in Fiji, Heather. I never say that. But I've been teaching for a very long time. I teach generally, but my background is in the arts, and I have a particular interest in technology and in STEAM. I think that covers it. And yeah. I love Ocean School because I think it is essential that our students learn more about what connects us to the earth and the environment.
So that is a really important mission of Ocean School, is connecting kids to the ocean and helping them understand how they impact the ocean and how the ocean impacts them. I also like to frame Ocean School as an environmental education resource. We teach things about sustainability, stewardship, climate change, biodiversity, but everything through an ocean lens. Ocean School is an interdisciplinary product. So yes, we do science and tech, but we also have math activities, English language arts, arts, music, all kinds of different activities. And you can take, all of our activities are made in Google Slides and PowerPoint, so you can modify them however you need for your class. We target about grades 5 through 12, but we know things, you know, also can be used with younger grades as well. What else, Melissa? We have all kinds of different content.
I would say, so the other thing that I discovered Ocean School several years ago, but the other thing I love about it is that the lessons have not been written by people who aren't educators, and they've all been tested out by educators in the classroom so that you know ahead of time, okay, this is something that's going to work.
Yeah, exactly. Before we get
in English and French, I guess we should say that.
In English and French, everything is in English and French, which doubles our production time, but it's essential. And hopefully we're going to be getting some content in Spanish soon. Before we get started, I'll just do a land acknowledgement and a bit about our commitment to Indigenous people. I'm working in Montreal. I'm close to Canada's headquarters, or the National Film Board's headquarters, which is located on the ancestral homelands of the Haudenosaunee and Kanakahake peoples. Dalhousie University is our partner, and the Ocean Frontier Institute, and they're located on Mi'kmaqi, in the Mi'kmaqi, the ancestral and original homelands of the Mi'kmaq. Ocean School is committed to working with Indigenous communities and creators as an awareness of past injustice. We've done a lot of work on the West Coast in particular with Indigenous communities, and we continue to look for Indigenous collaborators and educators, creators who want to work with us. And we are right now working with several communities in Nunatsiavut to create some content around climate change. So yeah, that's where we're coming from. Let's get started. So today we're going to do a little tour of Ocean School so you guys have an idea of how the site works. And then we're going to show you, like, dive into a couple specific pieces. You are going to get a preview of some of the plastic content. That's kind of the content that we're going to explore in more detail. But if you guys have things that you want to throw in the chat or open your mic and ask for specific content, like, hey, I really want something about biodiversity, can you show me some content? We can do that. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to disappear for a bit behind my screen. Share my sounds. Okay. You guys see my screen?
Yep.
This is our landing page. This is a brand new site. We just relaunched our site after talking to many educators about what was wrong with the first site. So on this landing page, you've got a little bit about our Ocean School. There's a trailer, and there's some landing pages that target our specific audiences. And there's already some featured collections here. But the best part about Ocean School, I'm going to go to right away. The part I'm most proud about is this amazing resource library. So you can search for topics. You can search by collections, which are essentially a playlist with an overarching inquiry question. So a playlist organized by a theme like ecosystems, for example. You can filter by grades, by time, subject matter, and resource type. So Ocean School has short videos like microdocs that are 4 to 7 minutes long, 360 videos if you want something immersive. We have augmented reality experiences. We have some interactives like I'm going to show you today. There's some interactives that include virtual reality. We also have some newsreels that integrate media into our content. Lots of different kinds of content. I'm going to show you what a collection looks like. You know what? Let's stick in Canada and let's look at, say, stewardship. And let's say we just want collections to show. Oh, that's funny. Let's say sustainability. So here's all of the collections that we have that talk about sustainability. So there's one about biodiversity. There's some here. These are the ones I'm going to show you today. This one is one that we did on the West Coast, and it's all about how we can include multiple perspectives in our inquiry. And it's really looking at the harvest in BC of herring and salmon and how the Celtic people are interconnected in that ecosystem. You can see over here, we always list the grades, the subjects, and key concepts. You can see the types of media that are included. And then you get to see all the different pieces of media that are in this collection and little descriptions, the time for each one. And then each piece of media is always paired with a ready-made activity. You can see approximate time there for how long it takes.
So you can pick and choose. You don't have to commit to doing an entire collection. So you can go through and pull out what it is you think is most effective for your classroom. Yeah.
For example, if you wanted to assign this collection to your class, you could click assign to class, and you can turn on and off any of the content that you don't want to appear. You can also think, oh, I want everything, but I don't want all of the activities, and you can turn those off. But to get to know each piece a little bit more, you can click on one. And again, you get a bit more of a description. And then you can preview the media without going anywhere, without logging in, nothing. There is no login, by the way. You can preview the content here. Why can't I do it?
For thousands of years, my people have shared stories about our relationship with the land, the water, and all living things, including eagles, bears, herring, and salmon. One of our many salmon creation stories tells how, first, the lakes were dug, then a trench to get to the ocean. Finally, salmon were carved out of a dead alder tree. But instead of placing the salmon into the river or the lake, they were placed into the ocean to come to life. They were placed in trust and asked to return every year to nourish our people.
Those are razor clams. in there compared to these ones. These ones are probably...
So, how did our ancestors gather this nourishment? How did we trap the salmon that became our way of life?
A fish trap is a collection of rocks that have been strategically placed on a tidal flat, and they were built about 2-3 feet high with these stones forming at a base and then decreasing as the elevation increased, and as the tide would drop, they would actually get trapped inside the trap wall. So it became alive.
I'm just going to stop it there. So you kind of get an idea for what the videos feel like. All of the videos, or pretty much all of them, have a youth host. A youth host is a little bit older than our target audience, and they're the ones really like modeling the inquiry, asking questions, learning from the scientists, or in this case, well, a scientist and an elder. And then just also all of our content is accessible. It has transcripts, closed captioning, and described video. You can also see...
We also forgot to say that it's all free.
It's all free. Yeah, the most important part. And it will always be free. You can also view the activity without going anywhere. It's on this page. So you can click preview the activity and you can click through the slides and see what it's all about. So in this one, the challenge is to draw a concept map of what giving back to nature looks like. So it takes them step by step. And for these activities, we worked with elders to record different words like weeblaws, which is a Celtic concept. And you can listen to the elder speaking that word.
We-e-las.
So you can learn how to speak a little bit of Celtic. You learn more about what weeblaws are. And they think through what reciprocity means to them and what a reciprocal relationship is. And so this guides them through that reflection and then eventually making their concept map. You can also view content as a student. So I'm going to go back to the collection and I'll show you what it looks like as a student. You can click view as a student. And the experience for students is a little bit more streamlined. They don't need all the information that you're looking at. So they get the title, they get a little introduction about what it is, and they get that overarching inquiry question that's going to guide their learning. And then we dive in, and they can see all of the media that the teacher has included. So whatever things you've checked off that you want to appear. And I want to show you, this is what a piece of media would look like for them. I didn't show this in the last webinar, but I do want to show those. These are little interactive trailers that we're building. They're not all published yet, but they are going to be. And these really help set up the learning. So again, we're trying to help just give the teachers all the tools you need for a successful learning experience. So there's a little trailer that will tell them, where they're going, who they're going to meet, what kinds of the types of media that they're going to encounter. Then there's a little about page. In this case, is telling them more about the Celtic name for the collection. And again, they can hear an elder speaking it. That overarching inquiry question, we know sometimes these are really big questions and unpacking them is work. And so we've started doing that now for the students and teachers. So you can click on the different words and unpack this question a little bit more. And then you can click on learn more and get the context behind the question. Why are we asking this question? What's significant about it? Then you can meet all the people that you're in the collection. So we have them all listed here, and you can click on them and you get a quote and a little bio about each of the people featured in the collection. You can also check out the place. So we've made this like Google Maps or Google Earth. We've annotated it with the, why about a little bit about each place that you visit in the collection. There's a land acknowledgement as well. And then finally, we want to model being grateful. And so we have a thank you to all of the people who've helped us make that collection. And when you're done, for this piece of media, the activity is a learning log. And maybe the teacher, you just want them to fill out the learning log for every piece of media they consume. But you can also just use it for this one, and it just helps them think through, what do you know? What are you wondering about? What have you learned? That classic KWL chart. So that is, and that's how they get the activity delivered to them as well. It's super simple. It's a template, and if they click use template, it goes to their Google Drive. There's one thing I didn't show you when you assigned to your class. Sorry, I'm just going back a little bit. If you see, when you generate your student link.
I'm curious, are you guys
yeah.
all Google based, or are you Microsoft Teams, or bit of both?
So
We're Google based. We're Google based.
Perfect. So you can share to Google Classroom directly. And we don't take any of your information. This is just a handshake basically with Google. So you can select your class, and then you can choose whether you want to create an assignment, ask a question, or make an announcement. And then it just puts the link in there for you. You can write your instructions. Super, super easy. If you're not using Google or Teams, you can cut and paste the link and deliver it to your students however you want.
And you can always edit it yourself. I edit everything, particularly depending on who my students are and what their needs are. So you can take the activity, edit it, and then send it out as you want to see it.
I'm just going to show you guys one of our more complicated interactives. I did show this one in the last one in the other tour as well. So this one's called Dive Detectives. It's set in around the islands of Cocos, Cocos Island in Costa Rica. And you're trying to find out what makes Cocos Island a really important spot for migratory species. And so when you have to view this one as a student to experience it. This just gives you an idea of the other kinds of media that we're using. If you're doing this collaboratively in the class, you can have students scan that QR code, and it will send a link to the underwater experience. So they get a little bit about their mission, which is to find out why Cocos Island is important to migratory species. They meet the different species, so scallops, hammerhead sharks, sea turtles, manta rays. They meet some scientists. And then they get this interface. So they're looking for species. These are the hints for where they might find them. And then there's a dive master. So you're going to move your boat around to different locations. And then you're going to look underwater to see if you can find those species. And then you're going to take notes along the way. So there's this clipboard to write your observations. This one's a really good one to work in pairs because there's a lot to write down in the notebook. So just so you can see that the clues here change depending on what species you click. So we can go and move our boat. So you get 10 dives, so you have to plan carefully. And when you click Start Dive, it reminds you you're going to take notes. If you have scanned that QR code, the person underwater would instantly see that spot underwater as soon as you click Start Dive. So we're going to dive underwater and look around. So we just see a rocky bottom. Oh, there's our manta ray. So you target it, and then you get all the information that you're going to put into that clipboard. Sorry. So you're going to exit here, and then your clipboard, you're going to choose, okay, the water was clear, the bottom was rocky with corals, we saw lots of animals, you can describe what they are, and then you can write all the information about the animal. Once you're done, once you've finished, all that data that you've collected in this little clipboard here goes to a spreadsheet that then gets pushed at the end, and you can use it to do the activity. And the activity is reviewing your observation notes. So you're looking through and answering some questions of things you observed. And then the meat of the activity is writing a persuasive message about why you should protect Cocos Island.
If anybody has any questions as we're going, feel free to drop them in the chat or pause and we'll answer.
Yeah. Just also to note, so on any of the media pages, when you scroll down, just underneath the activity, we always list all kinds of resources. And in this case, there's extra support for teachers. There's a field guide that goes with this piece of media, and it's really pretty. It's got a little book, and it tells you all about the different species and about conservation. So this would help students complete the activity. So that's those are two different kinds of media. I'm going to show you what time is it? So where are we at? Okay. One thing that I didn't show you in a collection is we also have take action toolkit actually. So I'm just going to go back to the collection. I guess it doesn't matter, any collection. I'll show you what that take action toolkit looks like. So at the end of every collection, we offer this take action toolkit. So for the students, they get this piece of media where there's a call to action. So it's usually the youth host that's doing a call to action. They're saying, hey, we learned all these amazing things. This is what I'm doing. What can you do? So that's a little call to action. Then we spotlight something that an organization or an individual is doing to take action on that topic. And then we give them 3 different actions that they can do just for ideas. So one is like reconnecting with nature, which is, that's a one that anybody can do, going outside, visiting a park, going for a hike. Research your fish, like finding out where the fish you eat is coming from, or writing a letter. Now, we actually provide a whole bunch of these tools in the Take Action Toolkit. So there's this fantastic activity that takes them step by step through identifying a problem, planning what they want to do, who should participate, what are the steps. And then the best part, this is new this year, is we've created step-by-steps for all kinds of different actions. So there's a step-by-step for writing a letter to your MP. So it takes them through, all the different steps they need to take to write that letter. We have organizing a shoreline cleanup, writing a love letter to the ocean, creating an infographic. This one's really cool. There's creating a social media campaign. We're about to publish one about creating your own video. We're probably going to make one about a podcast this year. So lots and lots of different tools that take students step by step through different actions that they can do. Yeah, so that's that. I kind of feel like diving into some of the content that we had planned for you guys today, now that we've done a little tour. You guys have any questions about the site before we dive into some content in more detail?
Any questions at all? Can you see this being applicable in your classrooms?
Yeah.
I'll just say for myself, I think part of it is just getting a sense of how long different sections take, and that kind of that arc into some sort of product. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, well, you know your students best, but I love that it does give you, okay, this video is 5 minutes long, and this activity we think will take the students this long, and you decide if you want to dig deeper or not. But as a teacher, when I'm planning, that's what I'm looking at, is like, okay, how many, because I can't, sorry, Heather, do the entirety of ocean school in my geography program, but I can pull bits and pieces for geography, bits and pieces for science, and I know ahead of time exactly how many of those lessons I can do.
Do you guys should we show the Kira video, Melissa?
Yeah, because Kira's actually a science teacher. I think that's
let's do. So this is one of our teacher advisors. She's been using Ocean School for a couple of years in her class, and last year we filmed with her in her class, and she talks about how she's using it. So yeah, let's show that. Share screen. Oops. Here's little present.
My name's Kira Janice. I teach high school science, biology, biotech, and environmental science. We very often ignore the ocean, even though the ocean is making up most of this planet. When we're teaching anything to do with ecology, very frequently students are not exposed to those types of ecosystems. Ocean School is beautiful. Everything that's on there is really well filmed, well produced, but I also like that it's kind of meeting the students where they're at right now. Students definitely have taken to using their phones a lot. And I think this actually gives them a positive opportunity to use the media that they're familiar with and comfortable with right now in a really positive way. So it's accessible on their mobile, it's accessible on our class devices as well. So that is key. It's engaging for them. Our project at the moment is looking at using selective breeding in order to speed up evolution. So this particular collection had some really great things that we could look at so that students can see how it really works in action. This landed in a place where the students would be able to understand the concept of what was going on. It gave them a little bit of reinforcement, and then it'll give us a good kickoff for their personal project. I like seeing how they react to it, because I think for a lot of them, especially students who generally are not as engaged, it's surprising sometimes what they latch onto. What I saw was these moments where they were suddenly blown away by something they saw. They were going underwater to the coral and going, wow, that's so cool. Look, there's a manta ray there, like as if they were in the space itself. That would be enough to use it again.
Oh, sorry, it's burning again.
So when I'm doing virtual reality with the students, I will use like Google Cardboard usually, but I'm amazed by how excited they are to be virtually underwater seeing all of the creatures, right?
Yeah, so let's dive into some of the content that we've planned for you guys today. So we are going to show you two about plastics. So one is called a micro mystery, and actually Kira has just written us a blog post all about how she used this as a mini unit in her class. So micro mystery is it's a video where we visit a high-tech lab in this from, do you guys know OceanWise, that organization? Yeah, so it's their high-tech lab in BC, and looking at where microplastics are coming from. And the activity that follows is a lab that helps students discover microplastic in their salt. So it's a step-by-step lab. So we're going to show you a little bit of the video. I won't show you the whole thing, so it's a little bit long, but show you a bit of the video, and then we'll check out the activity together, and Melissa will talk to you about curriculum connections. Okay, let's do it. Hi, Catherine. Welcome. Catherine, can you throw in the chat or you tell us before I start sharing what you're teaching and where you're coming from?
I'm science consultant at Lester B. Pearson School Board Secondary.
Oh, great. Fantastic. So here we are, micromystery. This one's targeting grade 9s plus, science, chemistry, and looking at citizen science and data collection and pollution, all that great stuff.
It's estimated that 8 million tons of plastic end up in our ocean every year. That's like one garbage truck emptying into the ocean every minute. But of that 8 million tons, much of it is hard to see.
So microplastics are plastics that are smaller than 5 millimeters, about the size of a grain of rice. Some plastics are born that small, right? Exfoliants in hand, sanitizers, that sort of stuff. Those start as microplastics. But most large plastics, once they're in the ocean, which is the strongest thing in the world, they get ground up into smaller and smaller plastics, all the way down to the nanoscale.
Researchers at the University of Toronto use sievins to trap and track trash along the local waterfront.
Here is a piece of microplastic. So you can see all the kind of the little stuff is starting to float up. Here I see a bit of a white pellet, another white pellet. So this is a larger fragment. Eventually it'll break down smaller and smaller. When I first went out into the middle of the ocean and I saw how much plastic was floating around out there, most of it was microplastic. It looked like a soup of confetti floating around on the surface of the water with maybe a buoy and a fishing net and a bottle here and there.
People were thinking, oh, ocean plastics are like plastics on land, but in the ocean. Not true. When they get to the ocean, they are tiny, 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 and they act differently when they are tiny, tiny.
The reality is it's breaking down into these smaller and smaller pieces, which then are available to more and more wildlife because they can literally fit it in their mouth.
A fish eats plastic, and another animal eats that fish. Soon, we have plastic moving through the food chain. So a tiny piece of plastic can become a big problem. So if we're going to stop it, we need to know where that plastic came from in the first place.
If I know where it's coming from, I can think about ways to reduce the input of plastic upstream so it doesn't end up in the ocean.
It's a micro mystery, and solving it starts with a search for evidence.
Microplastics are found everywhere throughout the world's oceans. We detect them in sediments, in surface ocean near our coasts, also in remote oceanic regions such as Southern Ocean near Antarctica or Arctic Ocean. We also find them in sea ice.
You would think that finding something smaller than a grain of rice in something as large as the ocean would be near impossible. But unfortunately, there's so much of it, all we need are the right tools.
What are you doing here?
We're going to use this system to collect seawaters for microplastic studies.
We start by pumping water through a filter that catches anything solid.
So when the waters come through, the solids will retain outside the surface of the filter.
The next step is to remove anything that's organic, like seaweed and sand. Then we move in for a closer look and pick out anything we suspect might be plastic.
We then take that particle to the instrument called the FTIR. It's a forensics tool that allows us to identify what material these plastics are made out of.
You heard that right.
That gives you an idea about the video content. A lot of our content is engaging with scientists. We also work, just to give you some context, we work really closely with Dalhousie University, and I have counterparts who are science producers. So everything is rigorously checked and validated before we publish. So this is the activity called Micromystery. And in this activity, students learn a little bit more about microplastics. And, is there this question, is there microplastic in our salt? And they're challenged to conduct an experiment to find which type of salt has the most microplastic. So we set it up for sea salt, table salt, and Himalayan salt. And what they're doing is they have to, make their hypothesis. They're predicting, which salt they think is going to have the most microplastic. We give the list of materials and then a procedure for figuring that out. We did test this in our own lab. We tested this, had several teachers test this, and it did work. So they collect their data, and we give them a little identification guide so they can identify the kinds of plastic they find. Mostly they found fibers, like microplastic fibers in the salt. And then they do an analysis. There is a bunch of extension activities. So they could conduct a search for a credible article about, you know, the safety of consuming microplastic. They could look at, you know, make it more geographical and look at where those different salts are coming from. They could make an infographic to share what they've learned with their community. So lots of different ways that you could take this activity afterwards. I'm gonna stop sharing. Melissa, do you want to jump in?
Well, we didn't talk about the natural connections to the UN sustainability goals, but I also wanted you to show them the critical thinking, because that ties beautifully to 21st century learning. And
let me get there.
I mean, we know that we want students not to just, you know, listen and spit back. We want them to actually use metacognition. And
so one of the things in Ocean School that we do have, because we're a national product and we're grades 5 to 12, we don't have a lot of like very specific rubrics built, but we do have rubrics for all of the 21st century competencies. So for example, critical thinking. So you can see this rubric, it's in our, you can search for it, it's in our library. I'm gonna make this bigger. Yeah, I'll go to a different slide here. This is what you wanted me to show, right, Melissa?
Yep, please, because I use this a lot.
Okay, so do you want to talk about it?
No, you're awesome. You're doing a great job driving. I'm waiting for people to ask more questions.
So here we have our critical thinking rubric. So, you know, just straightforward, identify issues. Are they doing it consistently? Usually, sometimes, rarely. So we have this for all of the competencies. So I think, what do we have? Collaboration, critical thinking. I'm trying to think of all the 21st century skills that I'm blanking on right now, but they're all out there. Character. So these tools are there for you. Because they're in Google Slides, you can adapt them however you want, and you can search for them. And I've linked them in the presentation for you. We also linked in the presentation some other extension activities. So for example, I mentioned you could have students make an infographic, and so there's a link there to the infographic activity as well.
Which you could use Canva to do, because you guys are allowed to.
Do you guys have any questions about that activity before I move on? Any thoughts? Anyone who might use it in their classroom?
Well, if I was still teaching, I would. So I'll be recommending it to teachers.
Fantastic.
And even the title of it, I saw it was Environmental Science and Technology, and that's the class where it's right geared for here.
Perfect.
Yeah, essentially, we want you to leave here with something that you could instantly hand over and say, here's something you can do tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
And not have to read like 30 pages in order to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're going to share another one. This is an interactive one called Plastic Through Time. This one took a really long time to create. I'll tell you why. So you have to view this one as a student because it's an interactive experience. And what this one is, it's a time machine that takes you back to the beginning.
Did you know that most of your garbage...
So it starts with this little introduction with our youth host who talks about garbage, and then he gives a little demonstration about what you're going to do. We're going to skip it. And then we're in this amazing time machine. And your mission is to dive in and see how plastic has changed our society and the ocean over the last 200 years. So we divided it up into 4 different eras. The first era is plastics are born. So from 1840 to 1949. And so you travel to the first event, and this little TV shows you different pictures, and you learn about plastic. What was it made of? How was it discovered? What were the early uses? What were the early impacts? So there is some nice environmental, social justice issues woven through this one. You know, for example, talking about how plastic, there's a lot of poor working conditions. especially at the beginning, that exposed workers to plastic to toxicants. There were in Taiwan where they were harvesting camphor trees, which were used for the first plastics, forced a lot of indigenous people from their land. So you're learning little bits about the darker side of plastics history as well. And then when did fossil fuels enter the picture? How did that happen? And how did it end up in our homes? That's really what this interactive helps bring to light. It also talks about World War II. So if you're a history teacher, you guys know anyone teaching history, this is a great point in time, because this is how plastic got catapulted from being used during the wartime into our homes. So there were all these new factories that were built to expand the production of plastic. And then we had to do something with these factories afterwards. And so they started coming up with ways to get plastic into our homes. We also have things of when the first evidence was found for when plastic entered the ocean. And then at the end of every era, you go underwater and you can look around in 360 degrees and see. So the first era, not much has been done to the, not much plastic has entered the ocean. So things are still looking very pristine. And you also are prompted to do a reflection. So at the end of each era, so this one is choose a plastic object they use every day. What other material could replace that plastic object? The second era is all about a culture of convenience. So, again, what happened to those wartime factories? So we made them into, making stuff for the house, our houses. I always love talking about how, marketing became a really big thing. So we were taught to be wasteful. This future of plastic is in the trash can, famous quote. And then how, single-use plastics were invented and how we were taught to be wasteful. So you can click through that. And then in underwater, for the first time, we're starting seeing plastics. There's a bag floating around. The diver there. There's plastic on the ground. So it continues on like this. The next era, you're learning about how, we started noticing plastic was becoming more and more of a problem, especially in the ocean. The garbage patch was discovered. I love this story. There's lots of stories that you could dig deeper in with your students, like the battle of the grocery bag, like how plastic manufacturers finally conquered getting a plastic bag instead of a paper bag. Lots of facts here, how the recycling symbol was invented by corporations who wanted to put the responsibility of plastic pollution onto the individual. Lots and lots of different facts. By this time underwater, you're really immersed in plastic. Lots of plastic in this shot. So it is, immersive experience. There's lots of learning to be done. So I'm kind of skipping through these reflections just so you get an idea of the full breadth. So the last era, it brings us to present day where we're rethinking plastics, how there isn't a second planet, and, why is plastic continuing to be an ongoing problem? Oh wait, we get out of this mess. And then instead of being underwater, the 360 is in a convenience store where everything is plastic. Getting us to think about, our systems, our food system.
This is where I get my students to watch the plastic bag mockumentary, and then they have to create their own mockumentary about a plastic object. Are you familiar with that one? No, yes, maybe.
So the activity for this one, there's actually a few activities, different ones. This is the one that's offered to the student, but there's alternatives in the teacher resources. So in this one, it's all about upcycling. So trying to transform some plastic into something new. So they do a little bit of a reflection about the interactive experience that they just had, what governments might do to help reduce plastic waste. They learn about the linear and circular economy. And then they start learning about upcycling and brainstorming what they could upcycle. And we give some examples. And there's an alternative activity offered. You can see there's a lot of resources for this one. There's also a make a postcard activity. So this one's a little bit shorter. So upcycling something might take time, more time, but this one is choosing an event and what are they doing? They're writing, getting a screenshot or taking an image and then writing a message on the back about the event. They're synthesizing some of the things that they learned. I also have ambitions to make an Indigenous perspective activity for this one, which I will let you know when that happens. Yeah, do you guys have any questions or ideas for how you might use this one in your class or share it with teachers, or how they might use it?
Heather, I have a question for the reflection stuff that popped up within the site. How does that get saved? Like, where would you find that as the teacher?
So yeah, you can, so your students, when they get it delivered to them, they can add it to their drive and they would have to share it with the teacher. However, they share assignments normally. That's how they would get it. The teacher, if they decided that they wanted to modify the activity, they would simply open it in their drive, modify it, but then they have to share it themselves, their modified version. Same thing if they wanted to use the alternative activity, they would have to share the link with the students separately. Any other questions, thoughts?
Is this group more quiet or is it just me?
They're definitely more quiet.
Well, I find you've got
That's
amazing resources. And
Great.
I can see it being very useful in many places in our schools. Like where I finished teaching last year, they've traditionally done lots of projects in science on plastics. So they'll be interested to see this. And everything looks high quality, excellent quality. So I'll be keen to pass it on.
Perfect.
Heather, can you put Todd down for entered into the door prize?
I can. We did link in the slide deck. We've also linked the rubric for creativity and innovation, so that those competencies. So you'll have access, like a direct link to that as well. I see it's 4:20. We had one more resource that we wanted to show you guys that linked mindfulness. So it's one that's kind of targeting mental health, but from an ocean science perspective.
Social emotional learning, to me, is one of the most important things that we should embed in every single subject area.
But I'm wondering if you guys would like to see an augmented reality app instead. Can we have a little vote? No? We're looking mindfulness?
SEL.
Okay. Let's check out mindfulness. Share my screen again.
Thank you, Heather, for doing all the screen sharing. I miss not having my multiple monitors.
All good. Desktop 2. Okay, so this is another one that we made in Bella Bella. And
we don't see it yet. We just see your screen.
Really? Maybe I shared the wrong one. Let's try again. Now?
Yep, now I can.
Okay. So this is another one that we made in Bella Bella, and it's a great meditation. It takes you to a kelp forest. You can do this on an iPad with a magic window or a phone. You can scan the QR code if you wanted to change from your desktop to a device. And no, we'll just dive in. It will be a little bit laggy because it is a 360, but I'll still do my best to give you guys a little taste of it.
The sea is calm today. Take a deep breath, and then another one. You are about to enter another world. Keep breathing calmly. Look around. Notice and feel where you are. A lush underwater forest sways all around you. You are safe here, and so are hundreds of other creatures who call this kelp forest home. Kelp is quietly flourishing in these nutrient-rich, cool waters. Every tendril of it weaving ever higher toward the light. These forests are cradles of life, calming the ocean's surf, providing a sanctuary to relax and take it all in. You are here. Take care to look around a bit more. You're not the only mammal swimming here. In the sanctuary of this kelp forest, sea lions dive and roll, performing a playful underwater ballet. It's time to surface again. Take one last breath and take it all in. And know that whenever you need it, the kelp forest will be here, ready to welcome you back.
Does everybody feel all zen now?
Yeah, I feel all zen now. So this is part of our Inquiry Tool series. And for this activity, they do, a little mind map about their experience and the words that come to their minds. Think about how the video made them feel, how they felt before, like this before, where and when, what they were aware of, are they paying attention differently? And then there's a little breathing board for another type of mindful practice for them to do. And of course, it's ocean themed, so it's a starfish or a kelp forest. So there's two different breathing boards for them to try out. And then after the breathing boards, again, thinking about the words that come to their mind. So yeah, that's the little mindful activity that goes with it.
We only have 4 minutes left.
Yeah. You guys have any other thoughts, any other wishes for things that you...
I wanted to share really fast, Heather.
Yeah.
So I did throw together, if it's useful, the UN sustainability goals in a slide deck so that it's linked to 1 minute explanation of each of them, because it of course interweaves beautifully throughout Ocean School. And just because I couldn't help myself last night, I started throwing together all of the mindfulness resources that I could find. And then I started to read through your curriculum and highlighted the parts that I felt like what I like to do is I like to take the curriculum, I like to put it in a spreadsheet because I'm weird that way. And then I like to highlight what actually goes with each thing. So that is also here for you as well. And that's it. I wasn't going to go
Excellent.
over all of that. I was just going to share it out.
And then before we go, we do like to share. So I'm part of an education team. These are the other education producers that I work with. If you want to contact any of us, you're more than welcome. We also have a newsletter. So if you want to keep up to date, there's a link there that, oh, I need to link, but I will when I share this presentation with you. So you can sign up for the newsletter and get updates. We have a teacher advisory group. Melissa is a part of our fabulous teacher advisory group. And if you want to join or know teachers who might want to join, you can email Erica and she'll get you set up. And
the teacher advisory group is really chill. You don't have to come to every meeting.
Yes.
You just hang out online. You don't have to go to any location, and you get to try out the new activities and give actual input into how to change and what would be useful.
Yes. In the slide deck, there's also a couple of slides with just other really fun pieces. I mean, Ocean School's full of really cool content, but these are just another, sample that will take you directly with links directly to each one. We also linked the SDG goals for each of these, so you have an idea of where they fit in there as well.
429.
Wanted to say thank you, first of all, for the incredible presentation today. And I can see it being really a great thing. I think Todd mentioned it in our environmental science classes, but it's really cross-curricular, right? Like you got geography in there, you got history, you got ethics, you got ELA opportunities. So the quality is excellent. The ease of use, really good, multiple activities. I'm really blown away. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you, but this is, you did a great presentation.
And it's
Thank you so much.
free.
And it's free. Well, that's the word we all like too.
Amazing.
It'll go well in our junior grades too. Like whenever, anything that they're doing ecological, for sure.
Yes, for sure. There's a whole 3 collections about ecosystems as well. So that fits really nicely. It's on the set in the East Coast with the right whale. The charismatic megafauna always goes over well with with students.
It's really great. Also, too, guys, what I'll do is I'll send the elementary one. We did an elementary session last week, and we recorded it. So I'll include that in the email as well, so that if you want to pass it on to your elementary school teachers, they can get an idea. And Melissa also went through and connected to the progressions of learning as well at the elementary level. So a lot of work's done. You just kind of have to just find the time to fit it in. But yeah, well done. Thank you, Heather and Melissa. Again, excellent. I put a quick evaluation. It'll take you like 2 seconds to fill out. If you could, that would be great. And like I said, all of this will be coming to your inbox tomorrow. So if you want some of the links and stuff, didn't have time to write them down, all of that will be coming via an email tomorrow. So thank you guys so much.